Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Malomane and this is My Journey to Greatness. My Journey to Greatness is a YouTube series that I started where I talk to young people that are doing so well in their careers, and just to inspire you, just to motivate you, and just to help you to be the best version of yourself. So in today's episode, I have Charles Manyelo. Charles and I actually come a very long way. We went to the same university together, and here we are. We found ourselves in Cape Town together as well. So welcome, Charles.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
No problem. So tell us about yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
Your name, where you come from, your background, and stuff like that.
So yeah, thank you for having me on your series, which is a very great series with very inspiring topic. So I'm very excited to be included on your series. So yeah, my name is Charles Manyelo, and I'm from Limpopo. Actually come from Manyelo, which is like an area just in Bochum. So Bochum is like a town about 60 kilometers outside of Polokwane. So I come from a village there called Buffelshoek, and I attended my high school in Raskhala Secondary School, and the subjects that I did were, physics, mathematics, life science, the basic science stream.
And how did you decide on doing medical science?
When I was in high school, I actually I didn't know what I wanted to do, honestly speaking. The reason I say that is because when I was like maybe in grade 10, when I started doing science, physical science, I actually wanted to do engineering because I just knew a few people who did engineering at the college, so that was something that I could relate to. And as I was progressing, when I got in grade 12, I actually started wanting to do medicine. Okay. But yeah, that was not because I knew anyone who's doing medicine, it was because I was starting to do to do like more deep stuff of life science, and I started like feeling like biology would be something interesting to me, and medicine has to do with biology, so I'm like, okay, I think I would fit in medicine. And I applied for medicine, but the following year after I completed my matric, I didn't get into medicine, and then now I'm like, okay, now that I didn't get into medicine, but I still want to continue studying, and I need to like look into the options of what I can study. And that's when I went to the University of Limpopo, and I didn't know much about medical science at the time. And then when I was introduced to medical science and what it is, and then I'm like, okay, I think I can fit here because it still has to do with biology, which is something that in the first place, I felt like I'm more interested in. And of course, when I heard that doing medical science meant that you'll become a scientist, that became more interesting to me. So I'm like, okay, let me give this a chance. And then that's when I registered for medical sciences in 2013. Okay,
so you only found out about medical science after matric?
Yeah, honestly.
Wow.
I didn't know medical science.
So, but then, okay, so when you were in high school, like, was medicine just your only choice and there was nothing else?
Pharmacy was my other choice, because I had an aunt who was assisting at a pharmacy. So every time I would go there, she would tell me like how pharmacy is a great field, and because she knew someone who is a pharmacist.
So you couldn't get into pharmacy as well?
Yeah, I couldn't get into pharmacy as well.
Sure.
Yeah. So.
And then which universities did you had you applied at?
I applied to Medunsa, which is now Fakomahado. Yeah.
So you applied at Medunsa and University of Limpopo?
I only applied at Medunsa because Medunsa and University of Limpopo were one thing at the time.
Oh yeah.
So when I now went to University of Limpopo, I could use the same student number.
Oh. Yeah. So what happened when you got to University of Limpopo?
Yeah. So I get there, in the first few days, actually after I got accepted, I go there for orientation. And they take us through the department to introduce us, and then, you start seeing laboratories and stuff. That becomes even more exciting. They show you the equipments that they're using and stuff. Yeah, so I think that's what I started becoming more and more interested. And also, I starting to know people and starting to see, there are these very brilliant people who are also doing medical sciences. So I started making friends and stuff, and then the course started, and we had a course that was called Introduction to Medical Sciences.
I remember.
Yeah. I think that's what also, laid the foundation, because they sort of came and told us, like, in medical science you have this following specialties. You can either do, medical microbiology, biochemistry, pathology, or immunology, and they started integrating them. So that became even more interesting for me, and I'm like, okay, I think I actually like this
it.
course. Yeah.
So, did you like it? Okay, before we go there, I want to talk about why did you only apply to one university?
Why did I apply one university? If I take a step back, I would say when I was in high school, I was doing well, but I was not very motivated because I didn't think I would make it into university as far as finances are concerned. I didn't have much knowledge about what are the funding opportunities out there. So for me, it was like, well, yeah, I'm doing well, but I don't think I should be aiming for like high universities. I should like get into like something that maybe I might be able to afford to get in as far as finances are concerned. Even by doing so, I don't think I was thinking that I would be able to pay the fees. But my high school teacher actually is the one who applied for me.
So you were not applying at all?
No, I didn't apply. I only applied to Medinsa because she applied for me.
Wow. And look at you now, a whole Stellenbosch graduate.
Maybe I should say shout out to my high school teacher. She put in the application for me. So at that time, most of us were like, most people were starting to apply, and I didn't have so much motivation to apply. I think I was starting to consider like I could go to a college and do like, a course, a course like engineering, because I knew like a few people from the community were going to like FET and so I think I was more worried about like the finances of getting to the university, because I didn't have more information.
Now I'm just thinking, how many kids out there actually who have a lot of potential but feel like they can't go in there, and they don't have like teachers like yours, you know?
Because if you don't have like the knowledge of what's out there, what are the opportunities out there to finance your studies, you tend to feel like, I don't think I'll, even if I get in, I don't think I'll be able to like, finance my studies.
Okay, so now going back to University of Limpopo, now you're doing your medical science. How is it like? Is it like, does the perception that you had in when you enrolled, that is it still the same thing? Does it change? Like, how is medical science for you?
So when I'm there already, the perception obviously has changed, and I think I would like to say I started dreaming more when I was already in university, because the perception changed. When I'm there, I start seeing like there's so many opportunities out here. You can literally aim to do something and do it, and that's when I'm like, okay, I'm gonna continue with medical science as a course that I want to do.
Okay. So then, because I remember for me it was actually quite different from you. For me, I feel I got frustrated. There was a point where I got so frustrated. I remember I felt sick, and my mother thought I was dead because of medical science. Because for me, it was a thing of now, I'm not sure where I'm going to work after the degree. I knew when I went to medical science, I knew it's what I wanted, but the outcome of it wasn't the dream that I had in my mind. Like, did you experience that, or for you it was just like, this is what I want, this is what I'm going for?
I have to agree with you on that one. You know, when you start going to varsity, like the mentality is, or the plan actually, is that you complete your degree and get a job. And now when like during like my years of doing medical sciences, there was that fear of there's no much job opportunities out there. So I had the same feeling also.
How did you conquer that?
I think for me, I would say I started researching of what else can I do if I'm not going to work immediately? And I had two options, which was either I'm going to do an internship or I'm going to continue with research. So I think that's the mentality I went with, that okay, when I'm getting into final year, I'm either going to think about internship or continue with research, because my understanding of medical science at the time was that it seems like it's going to be difficult to get the job immediately after completing, because you will need to like go and do internship so that you can...
Are you talking about the 2 years internship now?
Yeah.
Okay.
The internship, so that now you can become what do you call it?
Medical scientist.
Yeah, a medical scientist, and then go to work. So that's what I was thinking about. That was the other option that I had in head. Yeah.
So now you're in your final year. How do you decide which one you want to go to?
So now when I'm in my final year, I start thinking of research, because I think I start thinking of the end goal, because I think like in life, obviously we have different end goals. Even if we're doing one thing, we, each of us want to get somewhere. So for me, why I decided, okay, now that I'm going to do research, is because I started speaking to people around, I would say my lecturer at the time. And then when I spoke to him about like, if at the end of the day, what you want to become is like being a researcher, being someone like you who has a PhD, who is a doctor, or being a professor, which road would you have to take? And he said, you would have to like go into research, do your MSc. So it was more of thinking of the end goal of saying, okay, for me, this is the path I want to take. So I want like to become this person. So, and what are the steps? And then that's when I was advised that if you want to go that route, then you need to do research.
Okay. So I know that there are other people. Remember, you thought of medicine and you didn't get into medicine.
Yeah.
And I remember when we were in our final year, there were people that, like, I know even now that people went on to do their medicine adverts. There are other people who went to start over again. And like, there's just a lot that happened with different people.
Honestly.
And then there's us actually want to do our masters. Like, why? Because medicine was the first idea that you had. Why didn't you go back into medicine?
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting question. I think I just got to a point where I decided that medicine was a childhood dream that I had, which is true. But I'm now doing this course, which I've found something in it that is interesting for me, that I'm passionate about. So this is what I'm going to continue with. I think that's how I made the decision that I'm going to continue with this. And also I had to consider other things, such as, I'm not sure if studying a new degree it's a good idea for me. Looking at it's something that someone might say it's not something that I could have made a decision based on, but I had to consider like, okay, based on the background where I come from, I'm not sure if studying a new degree will be a great idea for me, especially if I don't know if I'm gonna get a funding for that degree. So yeah, also it was a little bit of that, and then I had to balance it with whether I'm more passionate to continue with medical science. Yes, I was. Then I continued.
Okay, like that makes perfect sense to me, because like, why would you put yourself under more strain financially? Because I think when we make decisions, we need to be okay with the decisions that we're making. We need to be okay with the risk that we should take for that decision that we're making. And it doesn't make sense for you to take a risk that you don't actually believe in, like, and stuff like that. So that is actually a very interesting. So now you decide, this is where I'm going. I wanna go into the research stream. When you went to, because now there's also finances that you think that is actually at the back of your mind. When you went to do your masters now, or when you think of doing your masters, does it, like, what happens to your finances? Do you now feel like it's easier to have funding for your masters compared to when you start another degree?
Yeah, I would say that's how I felt. Because when I looked at the options of if I'm gonna do masters, then what are the options of the funding? Then that's when like things like NRF, I started getting introduced to things like NRF, that okay, you can apply for NRF for you to study masters, and you can also, like, the institution that you're applying at, they can also have possible funding for you. Then I'm like, okay, so I think I can definitely go with that.
Which also, like, I think also because I know you, like for undergrad you use NSFAS, right? So because like I know NSFAS doesn't fund postgraduate, unfortunately. So funding for postgraduate, for undergrad, because thing is also NSFAS doesn't fund a second degree.
So that was the challenge.
So that's another thing, which is, I don't know if we're wrong. Please comment in the section.
Maybe we're wrong. I don't know, but that's what I thought about also at the time. That I don't think they will support like the second degree.
Okay. So then now, I wanted to tell us about your postgraduate journey. Now you're in your honors. You need to do your masters. Do you think this is the university that I want to go to? Do you know which university you want to go to, which course you want to take? Like, do you have that information, or is it a thing of you're trying everywhere kind of vibe?
I would say I don't know which university, but I know it's immunology. So I go on the internet, I look for institutions that are offering masters in immunology. That's what I knew. And then I go on the internet, I try and look like for different institutions that are offering immunology. There was like UCG, there was like even UWC in the picture, there was like a Stellenbosch in the picture. And that's when like I started like sending emails to see like where can I get the opportunity. And then finally I got not necessarily that I immediately got the opportunity at Stellenbosch, but like I got to like get more information as to what do they offer, because there was this like nice little poster they had which showed like the different research groups they had, and like they had an immunology research group. I'm like, okay, this is even more interesting. So I emailed them. But initially, yes, I didn't know which university. Okay. But then I'm glad that at least you knew. Like, remember when you were in high school, you didn't know what you wanted. Now you are sure, okay, I want immunology, which is great. Because for me, it was actually different. Like, shame my life. Because for me, I remember when I was applying for my master's, I applied for forensic science. I applied for genetic counseling. I applied for bioinformatics. So you were trying different things.
Now I'm like, no. I'm trying. But also for me, it was a thing of looking, like you said, it was looking at the end goal. That's how I make my decisions. Where do I want to be? What do I want to be like? And also other things as well. But we're not talking about me here. And then, okay. So do you get the NRF that you had applied for when you get into postgrad now?
Then now when I get into postgrad, then I get the NRF that I applied for. And then, that's when then I came.
And is it enough?
Well, for me at the time, yes.
How much were you getting?
So NRF was 90,000 at the time for MSc. So for me at the time, yes, it was enough to like pay the tuition fees and to pay the accommodation and to live. To have money to live like during the year. So okay,
that's great, because for me it wasn't enough, unfortunately. But I think the reason why it wasn't enough for me is because I was living in Res. And Res at UCT was about 50-something thousand. So if you're getting 90,000, your fees are like 40,000.
So it's out.
So that's it.
That's the other thing. It very much depends on where you stay. Like accommodation can make a huge difference on like the NRF funding.
That's true.
And that side of UCT side, I know even when it's not Res, most of the places
are very expensive. But then actually I had an interview with Dr. Kutala.
Okay.
And she mentioned that she got a place for 2,000.
Oh, that's side.
That's side. I was like, what? Really? Wait. Please give us connections because I was so I was really shocked.
It's not easy.
It's really not easy. I've never heard of that. That was my first time.
Yeah, but when I came this site in 2017, they were not so bad. I had like a place where it was like a 2-bedroom flat, like where I was sharing with someone else, and I was paying like about 2.6, so it was not so bad around that time.
Okay.
Yeah, but things changes with time. So I would say if someone is considering that, then they'll have to like check the options.
Okay, so now you're doing your masters. Now, when you make the decision to go and do your masters, how does your parents feel about that?
Yeah, as I mentioned initially, that the idea it's when you go and do your degree. We like the way we know it. You complete your 3-4 year degree, then you go to work. So that's the expectation, honestly. So when you go back and start saying you are thinking of going to do this and this, so obviously that's kind of a bit of a disappointment. Then you need to break it down as to like why exactly you think it's a good option, which is what I had to do. I had like to sit down and say, I think the best option for me is to go this road, and this is why I think this will be the best option for me, like for my career, for what I want to like end up becoming in the future. And obviously I don't think it was easy for them to like just understand, considering that obviously when you go to university you're expected to finish and go to work. But I think they were like supportive. My parents don't necessarily understand everything that I do. because medical science is something that they don't know much about. Like it's a field that a lot of people still don't know much about. But they were very supportive, even though they don't actually know what I'm doing. I think they trusted that I'm making the right decisions for my future. But it was not like something that they expected I was going to do. They thought I was going to like go into working instead.
I understand. And what advice can you give to somebody whose parents are not as understanding of their field, and like for example with us, there are people who actually went to do a PGCE and went into education because of also that thing of not knowing where you're going to work, which I completely understand. Like what advice can you give when somebody's parents are like, no, you can't go back to school, rather just do this one thing and then get a job after that, because you see our financial situation here at home, like what advice can you give to that person?
It's a tough one actually, because like we like come from very unprivileged backgrounds, and sometimes you will like understand where the parents are coming from when they expect you to go and work, and even you, when you look around, you do see that I probably need to like find a way to make means to also help to support at home, because and you'll understand where they're coming from. But my advice would be that if continuing with your studies, it's something that you think will be very beneficial to you, it's something that you really, really want, and you have this end goal that you want to get to, then I think you might have to try and make them understand that this is what you want to do. There's someone I normally talk to at home who sort of, when I sit with him, we talk. It's actually my father. Let me stop saying someone. I sit with him, we talk. I would say it's someone who like understands, not really 100% understand, but he tried to understand. And there's one thing that he normally tells me was that the reason why the situations are like this is because we had to drop out of our dreams and come back and help out at home. And now if you also do the same thing, I don't see how the situation is going to change if everyone keep dropping out to help out. So someone's going to have to go against all the odds, and achieve what they want to achieve. So I think that's how I've been like pushing through what I want to
I
get
think
to.
you have a very supportive father. Like that is amazing. Like I'm glad your father thinks in that way. Like not a lot of black parents think in that way, because at some point the chain has to be broken. And I think also I was fortunate that for me, even when I did my master's, like my mother was like, I won't be able to pay for your fees or anything like that, but at least I will help you with food, you know, and you know that is like support somehow, because every parent expects their child to go to school, finish school, and then now you're like, I'm going to add another 2 years. So for you now, how did you, after adding 2 years, because for me I was like 2 years, yes, thank you Jesus, can I go to work please?
I know.
And
after that 2 years,
exactly. I was like, can I go to work please? And also like I feel there was also a lot of pressure from like seeing the people that I went to high school with getting jobs and progressing with their lives. And now I'm still in school.
That's true.
How did you deal with that pressure yourself? Did you have it at all?
Hey guys, sorry to cut you off, but this is the end of part 1. Please look out for part 2 of my interview with Charles. I will link it down below. It's gonna be out tomorrow if you're watching it on the day when it's released. But if not, I'll leave the link right below to part 2. Enjoy. Bye.